part of part of the story for this company was Dragon's Den. I have a little bit of experience with Dragon's Den because I used to work at CBC, so I get to understand what the behind the scenes are like. But I want to hear it firsthand from someone who presented there. So let's start with the application process, or at least the idea. Like, why did you decide to go to Dragon's Den to present the product?
Marketing. I mean, the whole thing was just get on TV, just tell a story. It can go great, it can go bad. I know we had a cool product. Kickstarter validated that. Indiegogo strengthened that. The news that got picked up on, everyone wanted to talk about that. This was flashy and different, and definitely something people are interested in. So let's get more eyeballs. Let's go tell a story. And I've done a lot of investor pitching before. I'm like, I can probably rock this on TV. And so we went and applied this. There was a long lineup. I think I waited like 3 hours in line on a Saturday morning to go pitch this thing, and had this really big pitch prepared. But it was so informal when I got there. She's like, just stop. Like, what's your name? What's your product? What does it do? Where are you from? What's the reason for? How much it cost? Okay, thank you. And I left. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. This is more for entertainment than anything. Is there an interesting product or an idea and a story? All these people were validating, well, will this be good enough for TV? So yeah, there it was. I got the call. I was out in Nicaragua at the time, and they said, you made it on the show. Here's when it is. Here's the requirements, and let us know if you want to do it.
Were you guaranteed to be on air though if they brought you back, or was there a chance at that? No, so there was no guarantee at that point.
Yeah, there were, I think, 12 people in room for only 10.
Gotcha. Okay. And just to put a little bit more context to it, so someone who worked behind the scenes in sales on the show, they filmed that show over the course of 3 weeks, and they're basically there from like dawn until dusk, just seeing people come through over and over. Like they get that whole, I think they do about 20, 22 episodes. That's what it's like for 3 consecutive weeks. And you probably saw some of the costume designers there as well too, because they literally will have racks of this because they have to have continuity for every episode. So they'll literally be wearing the same thing over and over again. It's like time to change, taking photos to make sure your hair doesn't, or at least the host's hair doesn't change from episode to episode. Because sometimes they will cut segments together from different days. Like you'll be watching a show thinking this whole thing was recorded a Saturday afternoon, like you said, but really maybe one shot was taken on a Monday morning and the next segment was taken on the following Friday, and then they just stitch the whole thing together. So you get on a stage, what happens? What was the interest like from the Dragons?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I was number 8 to be pitched, and I was told that if this goes over, there's a chance that you might have to film tomorrow or not film at all. And so I'm like, okay.
God, how do you hit the restart button on your pitch after that? Like that really really upsets your flow.
Yeah, I mean, like it was just more so like, well, this is like sitting in the lobby. It's like, okay, how many hours you got to sit here? 8 hours because every pitch is an hour, hour and a half. And so it's like, there's that moment of waiting to see when we're going to go up. But while we're sitting there, they ran to us and say, the other company, first one can't make it. We can't find the other people. You guys are literally the first ones here. Do you want to come on right now? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, let's go rock this. And I remember sitting at the front, and we had to have this whole theatric play, we had to have props and everything, and, come in on a cardboard cutout of a car. They wanted this to be entertainment. This can be a boring pitch. It was very, very big part of the requirements. But I remember kind of peering in, and I remember seeing like some of the Dragons just practicing, looking at the camera and saying, I'm in or I'm out. So according to like you saying like this is pre-rehearsed, it is. And so they cut to these scenes all the time, and it was really interesting. So, lights came on, action, we walk in, we do our pitch, and, it was pretty cheeky, and, the best way to get attention. I remember this moment and thinking that, how do I have to grab their attention? And so I pointed to one of my, business partners who had the Trap Tab device in his pocket. And I looked at the Dragons and I said, this is my friend Adam. He's got something in his pants that can get him out of any speeding ticket. And then just
Well
stopped.
put.
And so like this is the idea of polarizing and, creating a lot of humor in the very beginning, which I think everyone should be doing. But we went to our pitch and then it paused. And then, then it was super relaxed for commercial breaks, whatever. And then they would talk to us and be super friendly and laugh. And then, they'd say, okay, they'd count down and then become very serious again. Some were assholes. Some were very nice. Some would fight between each other because when others were being dicks to us, Arlene was there, was her comeback season. She'd be like, relax, guys. Like I forget who said, he says he doesn't think we're real entrepreneurs, and and that this isn't really truthful.
Oh
And so I
God.
just laugh. And then she's like, no, they are real entrepreneurs. Like, what the hell are you talking about? She's like, ignore him. And so we went through this hour and a half pitch of being grilled, and I remember a moment they asked me a question about math and I completely screwed it up. Our cap table. I forgot that like I offset a portion for like an ESOP plan for our employees. And so he's like, this cap table doesn't add up to 100%. You're lying to us. I'm like, where am I going wrong? Like, where am I missing the 15%? And I guess, the nerves got to me. And so like one guy was out because of, we lied about math and some other BS. But in the end, we got 4 offers on the show. We took Michelle Romano. Huge mistake on that. Should have went with Jim.
Really?
And
Well,
oh yeah, there's so
why
much
would you say
behind the
that?
scenes.
Because I mean, we hear a lot about how Michelle is a serial entrepreneur. I think was it Everclear? Was one of her
Yeah,
companies where it was giving, not giving away, but it was giving access to capital to budding entrepreneurs. So stop right there. So what was up with Michelle versus Jim?
I mean, I wanted Michelle because she's an e-commerce expert and she knows this kind of stuff. And we are selling in the e-com world. And so our whole goal was to get her on. She made an offer. We were excited and we took that. Jim was the first one to give us exactly what we wanted. And, being an XRCMP, it would be kind of interesting to have him on board. But
That's a
our
good point.
goal,
Yeah.
our goal was e-commerce. So we closed the deal on the show, which is so interesting. People don't know how, business works. I can say I'm going to invest in you, Victor, but I don't have to.
Hmm.
I think what was it like 10% of all deals, if that number's right, on the show are actually got invested in or people follow through of those that said yes. So only 10% of those that say yes. And so behind the scene, we, chatted with Michelle and her right hand man who was super aggressive. And he's like, okay, you guys wanted 500,000. Awesome. We're going to give you 250. And you're going to give us more equity for that. And if we don't solidify this, then you're going to have to buy back the equity from us.
Oh.
And so I laughed and like my background's like I said, like venture capital and angel capital. I solicited and strung together so many term sheets. I laughed at them and said, no way in hell. Like, no, we're not doing this. And like, it's either this or nothing. I'm like, I hung up the phone. And so I remember going back to Jim's team and pitching them. And I got to her, his gatekeeper, and she's like, yeah, I recognize you guys. Like Jim was interested. And he has like certain pools of investments. One are his Dragon's Den pools that he takes riskier or interesting deals. And the other one is more on not into startups. So if you guys want to actually get his investment, he's pretty strict. You got to do it on the show. And so I talked to her about Michelle and everyone. And they said, yeah, Michelle's known for doing that. Jim is authentic. And she's like, I think the biggest mistake is that you should have went with him. My opinion. That's what the analyst said. I'm like, yeah, I
Mm.
realized that too. So that was the end of that, of Dragon's Den.
Don't meet your heroes, they say.
I mean,
What a bait and switch though.
yeah, but it's kind of like there are sharks in there. I think the hardest part is that we got like this price freeze where we weren't allowed to solicit or raise money for 6 months after talking. Like a lot of investors do that.
Jeez, they don't
We
talk
actually
about that.
we actually bled out at that point where we had a lot of cooks in the kitchen, 6 founders of this. We were, hemorrhaging money. Hardware is hard. We need to raise capital. Legally, we weren't allowed. And I couldn't get this contract reversed at all. So we signed this, thinking like literally on the day of the show, like you can't talk to other investors for 6 months while you do due diligence. Great. And so here we are within this contract, not be able to raise money. And my team kind of went other places. We kind of ran out of cash, and it was kind of hard to raise capital at that point, having a heavy cap table and all of that.
Do you think had you not had to sign that 6-month contract, that Trap Tap would still be alive and well today?
No, I think if I chose a better team, or a different team, then the trap dead would have been alive today. And we had some incredibly smart people on this, like ex CEOs of previous companies. We just were so stacked and so spread thin. It was a hobby for everyone else, and I really big passion for mine. And being one of the 6 co-founders equally split, it was not a good idea at that point. But again, this was like more of a side project that started off in something a little bit bigger. I think that everyone's foot was half in, half out, and focusing on other projects that I didn't have a dedicated team. It was just me hustling and stringing to deals and, paying out of pocket sometime to keep things alive. And it
Mhm.
just came to the point where financially not fair for me and having to call investors and people and, manufacturing partners and let them know how much money you lost them and that you couldn't pay them back was harder than I thought it was, but a lot easier in the end where people had a lot more respect from you. And I got the same thing over again is that do you ever have another idea? I would 100% invest in you.